Hello, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Corban Ethos, and thank you for checking out my page, Ethos Communing. What this post is about is a video of a channel session between me and a spirit called Na Theial. As a channel, I work with a group of spirits, and the way that our group works is that we will have what's called a basic speaker of the house. So this way, the spirits that I work with can channel the information into one cohesive stream based on a subject to the speaker of the house, and they cohese that stream into one and then channel that to the channel. It gives several reasons why behind it. It's a very efficient energy flow on my body as a channel. So I'm locking on to one frequency versus 10. So instead of 10 voices, there's just one. And the one that is actually doing the speaking for them to the channel will take the information for whatever subject it is that we're working on and cohesive it to one solid unit, and then at that point bring it to the channel. It makes it easier for me to be able to lock onto one signal versus 10 and one energy flow going through the body for frequency and vibration versus having to constantly modulate my energy to match all of theirs. It's a very actually efficient way to keep the channel safe as far as for energy levels and as well as for keeping it within frequency that it can tolerate. Recently, for a change, Woman of the Forest has stepped out of that role, and Na Theial has stepped in as the new Speaker of the House. And keep in mind, I've been channeling Woman of the Forest since my 20s, and I first learned about her and learned how to channel her starting from 17 into my 20s. So, considering I'm in my 50s, that's over 30 years' experience with one spirit that I've been speaking to for the group. So, it's been a big change. The purpose behind it that I've been explained is that it, the information that's going to start coming through is a lot more, is going to be deeper and a lot more expansive. And the challenge for me as a channel is that I actually have to raise my vibration now to be able to bring it through properly. Um, so this way my body can regulate it and actually stay in harmony with it. So these channel sessions that is going to be forthcoming was expected to be, it's really like a practice session for me to learn his energy and to be able to lock on. The other aspect behind it is that Woman of the Forest had trained me to be, originally I was a full trance channel, and she trained me to be a half trance channel. The way that she explained it to me was that it was important for me to be partially present for the information because I needed to hear it as much as those receiving it. And the second part was for me to learn to not resist their energy and to learn to flow with it seamlessly so that it can come through clearly. Um, I'm going to be learning to be going back into a full trance channel, and at that point, which means I have no memory of the meeting whatsoever. And the way that they've explained it, that there's training for me in the back end as far as for when they're coming through, to see what's going on there and work with the energy in that way. So I'm excited. So I'm looking forward to the new type of information that's going to be coming through in a much more expansive manner. As of yet, I don't know exactly what that means. Experience will give me that. So the channel sessions that you're about to witness was not intended to actually be shared with the public. So when you watch it, you're going to see that the camera wasn't even centered, and I'm dressed pretty casual. So please keep in mind that I wasn't expecting to share it. I actually didn't expect much to happen because of it being learning a new energy. Um, I didn't expect it to go long, and I didn't expect much clear information to come through. What actually resulted was over 2 hours of some really profound information, and I realized when I went back and watched it that it was meant to be shared. It's actually pretty important stuff. So the format that I set up for this to have fun with it was a conversation between Na Theial and my husband, and ask whatever questions you want. Nothing is off the board. Make it challenging, make it spontaneous, and let's flow with it and see what comes out. Um, and like I said, when I went back and watched it, I realized how actually profound it really was. So, in the beginning of the session, there was some definite flow issues between me and him. And when information's coming through, it's like receiving packets of data, and the brain automatically interprets them and organizes it into a flow of energy that comes through. And in the beginning, there was definitely, like I said, a little bit of flow issues between me and him where the information came through, but it didn't organize the right way. And you'll see what I mean when you watch it, because it's like it starts off with me talking about universal subjects, and then gave information about me as a channel, and then looked like it was about to go into another subject, but went back to the channel. Um, it was a bit just jumbled in the beginning, but it quickly straightened out and flowed into an even flow and came out to some really amazing information. So keeping that in mind for the beginning, just get past that, and you'll go from there. The personal information for me as a channel, I don't think is appropriate, for the video. And I intended on cutting that out, but then I realized when I went back and watched it, I can't cut that out without cutting out essential parts of what he's saying about other subjects, because it was jumbled. It wasn't intended when it first came through, but like I said, the brain didn't catch and interpret the flow the right way. That was quickly fixed and harmonized, and the rest of the meeting flowed clearly. So I left that intact, because at that point there's no really cutting it out you without clearly cutting it out and keeping a flow. So you'll see that, not that it's intended to be part of the video, but it is for this time. So other than that, enjoy, leave feedback, let us know what you think. And this is going to be a continuing series, which is going to be practice for me of getting used to his energy, and learning to, once again, full trance channel. And so it's going to be a conversation format between Na Theial and my husband, and whatever subjects are picked. I hope you enjoy. Okay. If you're ready, I'm ready.
I'm ready if you're ready.
So we're recording this as a conversation with Spirit, um, for informational purposes. This is as a record of the conversation. Don't know how long, how many sessions, what's going to happen. I'll let them speak on that. So enjoy. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. We come today with a purpose: to begin a conversation, to answer questions, to expand. But first, let us set the foundation for what is to occur today, and to give some background on the energy around it. It will seem like we are going around in circles, but understand that we will be addressing today energy that has not been spoken, some energy that has, and some intentions that are present, yours and ours. So first we say, welcome, brothers and sisters. We say brothers and sisters because it is not just you in the room. There are others who have showed up to take part of this process. Though you may not see them, they are present. Perhaps before we begin, let us begin with introductions. Our name is Na Theial.
but you may call us Na Theial, easier to grasp on your level. So, now that we will no longer be called Red, and we have an appropriate name, you know who and what we are. To begin, let us start with some questions from you that you want to hear. But before that, this is meant to be a conversation, also a training period for the channel to get used to our energy, to be able to go into deeper states of trance. We wish to begin there. The change from Woman of the Forest to me is necessary. It indicates a new phase for the channel. And in this, there is some work to be done. The channel has shared with you previously, and this may answer some questions that you have about your mate, some things that you suspected, some things that you have thought possible, but not had the appropriate words for. So we're going to read his tea for a bit. The reason for the change is timely. It is not to blame for the Reiki fire session, though the timing of it was aligned to move the energy. The agreement to move the energy happened before he came into the body. There is a point and a purpose to what is transpiring now. And as he so eloquently put in one of his posts, it's not that spirit is not ready to say things. He said, I am not ready to hold their energy. And therein he is correct and is the problem. And the work that will be done will be for him to expand his consciousness. Our purpose with our lessons and what we will be focusing on is going to be from the aspect of expanding your minds to get beyond the belief that there is a past life, a present life, and a future life, and to begin to incorporate that into one and whole, so that you will be possible. So it will be possible to be able to integrate all of them that are happening now and see it from that perspective, to expand your mind, to expand the possibilities, and not from an esoteric sense of doctrines to be repeated and hoped to be understood, but from experience. And that will be our point of discussion for a large part of what we say. Now, the channel says, I bring through information that no one wants to hear. And there is a truth to what he says, because the point of the information is not to bring it through for the people that are here now. The point of his purpose of bringing through information, his agreement within this life of why he came in, was to be here and now at this tumultuous point within the human consciousness. There is a grand play that is about to end, and a new play, a new drama, is about to begin. And he came in at the cusp of one ending and one beginning, which on any stage would be absolute chaos of one play ending and one play beginning. The main point of the message is not for those here now. The main point of the message will be for those who are being born now. They are the ones that will become in contact with the material, and it will put into words that which they already know. They will find a guide waiting for them in the physicality to help them framework what it is that they intrinsically know to be true, to put it in perspective, a guide to help them make it physical within this reality. The ones who are here now are finishing the drama of the ego. That is what this is all about within the group mind. Me, 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 me. And as long as the truth of doctrine fits within that stroking me, my sense of self, my sense of boundaries, my sense of power, my sense of invulnerability, then they adopt it. Not for experience, but to booster the ego of what is. And the end result of that experiment is coming to an end. And it was an experiment. There was a point in time that the ego was not forward-facing within human consciousness like it is now. There was a point in time that all of you were connected to the earth beneath you, and that you felt those waves of energy, and that you knew you were a part of it. And then came the ego moving forward. And you give the ego a very negative point of view, but it is still part of your consciousness. Not all of your consciousness, part of your consciousness. But it is this section of your consciousness that all of your perceptions focus upon. To ground yourself into physical reality. I am, comma. It's what comes after that intrigues you most. I am powerful. I am whole. I am spiritual. I am wealthy. I am greedy. I am loving. I am sweet. All of these things grounded into the physical world to get your meaning, ignoring everything else within. The possibility that that is only part of your consciousness. And so there becomes a dance. The information is given. The doctrine is found. The person that could teach it appears. And it becomes adopted in a very egocentric way to booster that which you already know, that which you already have, and to make you feel better about it. Because with the ego comes doubts. And so the seeking within this world is that which is physical to help force back the doubts. Because inside you know there is more. Inside you know you're surrounded by illusion. Inside you know at any point in time the lights can get turned on and the illusion revealed. And it is that which you seek most not to happen. And we would love for those that are available to receive the information and to be able to take it in. But for most, it will be an intellectual curiosity. Those who are coming in now are the ones that will actually experience and use it as a framework to launch not into this world, but to bring where they came from into this world. A new drama, a new purpose, a new reason, a new change. And many of the physical things that you have today, that is the point in time of metamorphosis, of the supposed new age that everyone has talked about. Those who are here now are finishing the drama. What is the end result of having to play with the ego in such a manner? What is a lesson? What are the effects upon the world? How does it feel to be disconnected from your own planet? Alone, in pain, not able to connect. And what happens when everyone panics at once over this issue? What happens if there is suddenly not enough? That the fear of not enough actually physically manifests. Your worst fears come true. How will you deal with that? How will you deal with each other? This is the ending of a particular drama, which will clear the way for a new one. But understand, it has its purpose. It's not a bad purpose. It was an experiment. And those souls are about to draw conclusions on that experiment and then decide for a new one, a new phase, a new direction. And so there's always the question, why does the group mind not change? Why does the group mind not see the truth? Because they're not done learning that aspect. It is a choice, and not a bad one, because there is much wisdom that will come at the end of the experiment. And it is the foundation that the new experiment, the new direction for the group mind, will be set upon. And then the switch will occur. The ending of one, the beginning of a new. So the purpose of that instruction, the channel has said that he's felt that what he is channeling is not for this audience. He is correct. It does not change his purpose, nor does it change his reason for being here. Accept. We give him the advice to accept and just bring through the information. He knows he has to. Let the rest go. The other aspect for the channel is the issue that he is correct in when he says that in his life he allows things to go so far and then self-sabotages. First, let's deal with the human thing, the human aspects of his mind. To answer the question that you previously asked, is he creating this? Or is life happening to him? He is, in a sense, creating it, though not consciously. When he gets scared and he is not connected, he suffers through astrological aspects of what happens when he becomes afraid. And to coin the phrase that he would use, an emotional flare-up happens. Now, this emotional flare-up is intense. Anytime he gets into his emotions, it's always intense. The river runs deep with him, and he does much to make it look like it's calm. So when a flare-up happens, it goes outward and spreads, not just to the path he's choosing, but to the ones beside it that are still probable to shift and change. It's never one path. It's never one choice. The mind makes several choices at once. All of them are just as real as the one you think you're focusing on. So the emotional flare-up will go through all of them and taint the waters to make it more likely for the outcome of what he fears most to occur. This is not a major issue. As he learns to connect in a deeper way, this will naturally subside like it did once before in his life, where that is not an instant reaction when he walks into an unknown and doesn't have control of the options. The reaction is him trying to gain control. Out comes the claws in the crab. It's what they do. It's how they react to unknown situations. And woe is the one who stands in the way of those claws. So, the other issue, the deeper issue, and saying it directly for his path, for things that might have been suspected, things that was questioned, and things that were wondered about from both of your parts as a couple. This being the channel, has had many lifetimes. He has spent time in and out of lives. So through his choice of what it is that moves him and motivates him, he had made the choice to take less lives, less reasons to be here in physicality. It doesn't mean that he wouldn't come back. There would be points and times in his learning on the other side that he would, at that point in time, see that what he is doing there is affected by what he knew here. And he would gather that aspect, choose a life, and come in to learn. Often with great intensity, many things happening at once, for the intention and the purpose of burning off the karma, to be having the issue be so loud that there are no distractions, to focus on what must be focused upon. And so he would come into life that were not as complex as others, not see as much, not do as much, because he was busy focusing on this one aspect, not for the purpose of perfecting the physical life, but for the purpose of understanding his soul. So when he crossed back over, he could continue his studies on a larger realm. So he is attached to the group that he works with. He is part of that group. And there are times that he will spend periods working with them in energetic form. However, the snafu, the issue, the energy block, what he is here to work on and let go is understanding free will and the emotional connectedness of what you intend and what people do. There was a point when he was working energetically with someone from this plane, and they killed themselves. It was quite unexpected. It was unseen. And he does not forgive himself. And so begins the issue of him opening up only so far and then crashing it back down. He will not allow himself at this point in time to expand his awareness to what he knows. He keeps a lid on it. He will only go so far. If it's required to help heal someone else, he will expand the boundaries. And when the healing is done, he clamps them back down. Because he is frantically searching for what he missed. How could this have happened? How did I not know? Not even relating to the point that the one that was training him also missed it. And he has not forgiven himself. But he has several things that he has not truly forgiven himself for. The information he received of his life in Atlantis was correct. He was the scientist that first connected the crystals to be able to harmonize and send energy to warp reality. Although at the time, that was not clearly understood what he was doing. The intention was to be able to make heaven on earth as if in heaven, for the benefit of all, to help the perception easier, to make it more present, to make it part of the reality. So to learn, to explore, to connect. However, when other scientists then took that experiment and then proceeded to say, how can we make this of use for what our needs are? Therein became the problem. Free will. Was he responsible for those choices? He believes he should have known better and never have done the experiment. That it was naive to believe others would see it the same way as him. And they did not. And so the two guilts connect. And so he spends lifetimes searching for what he missed and blocking his full awareness. Now, we say this because he came in with a purpose, and part of that purpose was to release these issues. Because in order for the information to come through, he must expand his awareness back out. Not from the standpoint of it may be, it could be, or it should be, but the true dawning of what is. Not of the universe, but of his own mind. It's not an abundance issue. It's him punishing himself. It's not an issue of being successful. It's an issue of him punishing himself because he believes he did wrong. And so he will not allow himself to embrace those aspects and contains himself in a very narrow field. He is not interested in those things, although there's a part of him humanly that is, and wonders why. But the spirit that exists within is not interested in those things. It's interested in just this cone of perception and searching for what he missed. And yes, this goes to his sleep periods. The obsession continues in a dream state. Always two choices. Always looking for what was wrong and what was right. Always examining and re-examining. What is he examining? And what is he looking for? And the only answer is forgiveness. Facing the pain that he holds inside, and finally giving himself forgiveness. And so this is work that is before him that he will be participating with. So we believe we set the foundation of, as he would say, Spirit will say what you need to know, and then get into what you want to know. So, let us set up the groundwork for this between you and I, and the framework that we can use to communicate. These sessions, in part, are training for him to readjust to our energy for the shift, for the change, and to be able to go into deeper states of trance. He is correct that he will no longer be a semi-trance channel. He is going to learn to become a full trance channel, which means he will not be consciously aware of what's transpiring when we come through. There are several reasons for this. It will allow us to bring through clearer and more advanced information. information he was not ready to hear. It will also allow him to understand not just the front aspect of flowing with our energy, but now how does it work on the back end within other states of consciousness. And so it's time for him to go off and learn different lessons when we come through. For you, this is a time to ask questions. Any question. There is no limit. We have said that there is a library behind you with unlimited information. And we wonder, are you sure all you want to know about is your financial life? You have the realms of all the times, other dimensions, other states of being. But all you want to know about is just your finances? You can tap any of that. Some of it will be a challenge for him to let go and let the information come through. So there may be some adjustments periods of energy we may say to give us a moment so we can adjust to be able to let the information flow. So there is no limitation on what you may ask. And yes, even the mundane. Whatever it is you wish. And so we begin. What would you like to know?
So thank you, Na Theial. I look forward to this. I want to know, in the physical plane, what was your history and why are you in this state, in this point of history?
Say that again, we missed one part.
I want to know, on this plane, what was your history and why are you in this state at this point?
A good place to start. We have had lives on this plane. Many, in fact. So we understand, for many of us within the group, what life is like. I can say, from my own personal experience, as a being, I've lived throughout the ages. I was here before the known age began, because there were several ages before you were aware of it. We believe the information was given before that this world has destroyed itself 7 times before. And so experience goes back farther than people realize. Our purpose in being here is only one, which is to remind you of the truth of yourself, to help connect what is there in other states of being to you here and now, to help expand, to understand the reason for this vehicle, the reason for your purpose of being here, the reason from the one aspect of your many selves that you took this life. And what is it that you're looking for? What did you come to experience? Because there is always a reason. The vehicle that sits here is not here by accident. You created the vehicle, perfectly fit for what you were looking for, with circumstances to bring through physicality in a way that would help you achieve what it is you're trying to experience. The main block is what you've been taught since a child about the ego, and how everything is related back to only the physical world. And we believe we have given this example before, we will give it again as a reminder. How many times do you know someone is about to call? Or that you should call someone? A thought flashes about someone and you connect momentarily in experience, and you feel them and they feel you. And within one day, they're calling you. What a coincidence. Is it really a coincidence? Or did you two meet in a different state of consciousness, connect, and then carry that forward into the physical? Which came first? The chicken or the egg? Does that answer your question?
No. I'm asking this as kind of like a first date, if that makes sense. What? Why decide from going physical to the current state you are in this point of history? What triggered that choice, and what's the experience like?
To clarify, are you speaking when we decided to leave the body experience?
Yes, and not come back.
First off, you've never left the experience. This physical dimension works, and give us a moment here. We understand that we're giving an esoteric answer, and you want it in physical terms, but it doesn't work that way. It's not a here or a there. You are aware at all times. Your focus of perception is on the physicality. And so you see the vehicle before you and you say, I am someplace else. If you listen to what we said, this is exactly what we're here to teach to break. You are not just here. You may be focusing a portion of yourself through that vehicle. What about the rest? Now, when do you get to the point of saying, I don't want the physical experience anymore? Well, let's play with this. Let's have some fun. Let's imagine you, for example, and you became aware of all of yourself. Not just the portion that's here focusing through that vehicle, but you became aware of all of your little selves operating at once, that you call a past, a present, and a future. And then you became aware of the greater meaning behind the universe, the energy that flows throughout it, a state of being. And that you have the realization, no matter where you go or where you are, past, present, future, the same state of being is present. Putting it into proper terms, we are here in a living room, are we not?
Yes.
Is this room not set up a certain way to emulate a certain style, almost like a personality?
Yeah.
Let's go to the bedroom. Is that the same as the living room?
No.
No. What is that there to emulate? How about your office?
No, it feels and it serves a different purpose.
It gives you different perspectives of yourself. So the living room is the present, the bedroom is the past, and your office is the future. How insane do we sound? They're separate. The doorway's open. No, 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 no. There's a wall there, and they're separate. There's no communication. If I talk from the living room, you cannot hear me in the bedroom. Right? That's what the ego has convinced you.
Is this why self-talk is important?
Self-talk is very important because within self-talk lies the seeds of inspiration. There are two beings in self-talk at the same time. Well, three. There's you, what you perceive yourself to be. There's your ego. And then there's the fallacy that you call your higher self. Easier to hear the ego. Harder to understand the higher self because it doesn't speak in the same tone and demeanor that the ego speaks in. In your life, if we were to take a tone that was demeaning, ever so slightly, well, if you were smart enough, you would have got this lifetimes ago. That you would perceive clearly. That you understand all too well. Because that is the voice you use for yourself at all times. You also use it when projecting to others, whether you realize it or not. Because if you could see fault at them, it makes you feel better. But now comes the supposed higher self's voice. Have you ever heard the higher self say, "And I say unto thee, you heathen"? No. It doesn't speak in words. It speaks in experience. You just know. As our son would say, from balls to bone, you just know. Okay, back to the grocery list. Because you don't look at that sense of knowing and making that physical. You certainly do look at the ego and make that physical. It's not a question of which is more powerful. It's a question of your own allegiance. The more you listen to that sense of knowing and carry it through to physicality, the more you will understand the purpose of why you took that vehicle. What is your purpose and what are you looking for in this world? Why are you here? When you receive that inspiration and carry it through to your life, there is a term synchronicity that occurs. And a miracle happens, and suddenly, in gross terms, the world suddenly works.
That's flow. It just flows effortlessly.
Correct. Which is not what your ego will tell you the purpose of this world or how it works. But yet, you spend most of your time believing that that is the truth, even though you have experience with the flow or synchronicity. And that becomes the improbable event. And let me tell you why. And you start listing. So self-talk is very important because we would ask, who's the unconscious driver behind it? The supposed higher self or the ego? You get a choice. And understand it's just different parts of your mind. It's just different parts of your mind.
It's like what was talked about, taking on a work persona and then a playing games persona, and then a gym persona, and then a going to a coffee shop persona. All the same person, just a different shift in, I don't know, consciousness, if that's the right word.
Correct. To flesh that out for anyone that would listen to this meeting, we had given the example to you about how the supposed illusionary higher self will have many aspects of itself. And for those that believe in reincarnation, will deem that a past life, a present life, or a future life, which seems so improbable of how do I connect to them, how do I speak to them, and how does that get balanced? And so there's no connection. And so you believe you're dealing with karma this lifetime as a way of cleaning out things that you've done in the past. And that you must get it right this lifetime so you can pass off the torch to a future lifetime to make it better. As if the two, all of them, are not happening in the same space and same moment and same time. In comparison, to show you the illusionary idea that that is, we brought up the idea to you about the work self, about the home self, about the friend self, about the volunteer self. We use different examples, but we're going to use these now. So you have all of these little selves that you have running around. And with another client, we asked the question, so does your work self show up in the bedroom with your husband? Would he find that sexy? No, you keep them separate. And when you leave work, you start the conscious shift of getting rid of the work personality and taking on the home personality.
Unless he's into that office kink stuff, then it might be hot.
We thought the son thought the same thing. And there are times, but yet we'll also bring up the fact of the imbalances that occur in your world for energy of dominance and submissiveness. This most certainly plays out in your sexual roles and not just in your little selves. It also is expressed into your sexuality. So we would ask the question, why are there so many who have to play a dominant role with work, but then in the bedroom want nothing to do with that and only be submissive? A balancing of energy, a balancing of selves. You have many creative techniques that you use to balance and learn to harmonize between the selves, especially when one of the little selves is predominantly only one type of energy. It's normally a flip side somewhere else in the other little selves to attempt to balance it. Not always, but many times. But back to point. So we had used the example that you were doing it right now. You did it then. And you're going to do it after. So if it's so incompatible to understand all of these little lives called past, present, and future, you are creatively doing it right now in your current life. You are like that which created you. There is no difference. And you create little parts of yourselves to learn aspects about yourself. Who is Mansour, the workplace person? What is he learning? What is he attempting to attain? What is his goals? Who is the husband within his household? What is his goals? What is he attempting to learn? And why do the two roads don't mix? And what happens when either one of you talk too much about work within the home life?
It gets hot in not a good way.
Correct. It disrupts the flow.
Is that why, and I'll use myself as an example, but it pertains to everything. Previously in work, I was very much, lack of a better term, submissive, took responsibility for everything, even though it wasn't mine, yada, yada, yada. And that played out in all aspects of my life. My current job, I said, fuck that shit, let me try assertive. And playing in that space, I was able to translate it in other aspects of my life. So even though that's one personality or one whatever, taking it back to the past, present, future, when people talk about, and when my husband talks about, you clear out or burn off karma, it burns it off for the rest of it. It's the same as I work through one thing in life, there's a huge shift in who I am as a personality, so all my aspects have shifted because I carried that lesson through. So if I work through some kind of shit in this life, all the other parts of me have worked through that shit as well, and hence those experiences shift.
Depending on how you do it consciously.
Did that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Okay.
It makes perfect sense. And we would say, in reply, depending on how you do it consciously. For example, first off, let's illuminate a little bit about your work life. So we have Mansour from the past who was submissive and took responsibility for everything. And now we currently have, you see what we're doing here, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now we currently have Mansour who is aggressive and sets his boundaries. And now we have a year from now of who is Mansour going to choose to be within a work environment, a balance, an involvement. But the point of it is, you called it karma. The issue with the word karma is that it entails a suffering.
I called it, for example, people say burn off karma.
No.
Oh,
You used the word karma.
okay.
So, and this comes from the point of understanding that word. And in this, we look to the Buddhists, or at least the interpretation of Buddhism teachings in the Western world. Because there is a translation of language, and as you so aptly know, some words in Arabic does not translate correctly into English. There isn't the societal frame of reference to explain it. There's a whole realm of growing up with that word and its meaning. So the word is not a word. The word is a descripting of an experience. And you can't pass that experience through the word. Issues with languages. We know because it takes much time to try to pick the right words to explain what we are conceptualizing for you. Now, the word karma goes back to the Buddhists. That's where the Western world understood that idea of karma and adapted it. And within that framework, there was this notion, karma. And therein lies the issue with it. Why must I suffer from the karma from the past? How do I clean it up so I don't bring it forward? So I'll be able to be a better self in the future, ignoring who I am right now in the present. There is no limitation for your slice of the pie of who you are and what you want to be. One does not necessarily affect the other in a concrete manner. You do not have to pay for the sins of the past so you have a better future. The trick of understanding karma and sliding through it is understanding a clearer sense of who you are in this very moment. Now, when you do that, it may include lives of the past, because there's a drama unfolding as one connects to another. It's one play. The same way as you cannot define Mansur present work person without referring to Mansur past work person. They are connected, but not as separate beings, as who you are right now. And within all the suffering you went through from the past work self, when you understood the aspect that you were suffering from, great joy emerged.
I shifted perception.
Correct.
And is that what is meant by karma? It's not an actual thing that you have to pay a debt. This is an experience I had with this perception. Doesn't work. Shift. That shifts for everything.
Let us keep it simple.
Okay.
We're going to tie our shoe. So first we go ahead and make the foundation of the knot. Then we go ahead and loop one side and then loop the other side. And then carefully, while still holding the tension as best we possibly can, we flip one loop over another, take a finger, put it underneath, and then pull it. But then many times have to redo it because we let go of the tension of the base of the knot, so therefore the sneaker or the shoe is now too loose. So we do it again until we get it right, so we have the right tension. Are you with us so far?
Yes.
Okay. So at that point in time, we see someone else tie their shoes. Or intrinsically we understand how to do it better. And so at that point, we do the base knot, we do the two, we wrap around once, and pull, and it's always the perfect tension. And we celebrate our brilliance in learning to tie our shoe better.
I remember that as a kid, from bunny ears to single, and it was life-changing. And I don't tie my shoes bunny ear style ever.
Correct. Now, it's going to be interesting to note, the channel still ties his shoes bunny ears because he just asked us, wait, how do you do it that way? So afterwards you can teach him, because he still to this day will retie his shoe several times until he gets the tension right, and you don't hear him cursing in the morning.
So that means I have to really break down how to do it. Okay, that's fun.
And leads to another point. What you celebrated so greatly in your youth, when you finally got it, has now been listed into a subconscious file. You just do it. You don't think about it. You just do it. It's a state of being. You don't have to spend effort on it. But there was a sense of joy that came from that moment of learning. Did that originate inside or outside? Did that go beyond the ego? Understand the motive of who you are. And we refuse to say lower self. You are not the lower self. You are all of them. The lower self, the observer self, and the higher self. At once. You are one being. And that includes all of the supposed little lights that you have going on, which is nothing more than a name for another room. And to quote one, my father has many rooms in his mansion.
I never heard that.
Supposedly said by Jesus.
Okay.
So, you have all of these little selves, and all of it is one being happening now. So if, by supposition, you were dealing with something and were remaining conscious on a larger level with it, and it was one of those intense issues, and we're going to read your tea for a bit. Why do I always have to stay busy? What did I do wrong? We have said that to you before. Because it's not that you have to stay busy. You're avoiding the question. What did I do wrong? This is an emotional center. All of your supposed little lives share the same emotional body and the same mental body. Oh no, esoteric. Let's break that down to something simple. Your previous work self and how he felt and who you are now and how you feel. Is there another room you go to tap into those feelings? Or did those feelings evolve into what you have now?
I don't get it. The question.
Okay. Close your eyes. You're at the job that you didn't like, where you were constantly taking blame for everything, and everyone was heaping that upon you gladly. Describe for me how you felt.
Suffocated, claustrophobic, heavy.
That's the mental.
And I felt like I deserved it because I did something wrong. I was always doing something wrong, and I had to fix it so that I can be perceived as not wrong, that I'm okay.
That's the mental explanation of it. Now sit with no words and just feel it. Just feel it. Experience it. Good. That's the emotional plane. Now we come to who you are today. And picture yourself in your office starting your day. Explain to me how you feel.
The same.
Yes.
That core, the same. But my actions are different.
Correct. So, was there a separation from one to another, or did past Mansoor and current Mansoor share the same mental and emotional body?
The only difference is my actions.
Understood. But what we're speaking of here is where you tapped into to get the emotions. Was there a door? Did you have to speak with someone to access the files? Could you call up this from that life from 6 months ago? Or was it the same space that the energy emitted from? Subtle questions.
It's the same core experience carried throughout. Like that's the only way I can verbalize it. I can feel it. Here, it's the same thing that's carried throughout.
So there is no disconnect from past Mansoor to current Mansoor. That would be considered an illusion.
The core is the same.
Correct.
Well, frills outside, it's different clothes, different frills.
Correct. Now
LED
we come
lights.
to the question that says, what did you do wrong? When we say that term to you, and we've said it in the past, there was an emotional reaction, was there not?
Yeah, right now also.
Correct. like clockwork. So it doesn't have any physical memory to help put it in perspective. So is that this lifetime Mansoor or previous lifetime Mansoor?
Does it matter?
Or is it a future lifetime Mansoor? And the answer is no, it doesn't. Our question to you is, do you actually experience that as a state of being? It's an important question, because when the answer is yes, you access the illusionary past lives, future lives, current life with the same ease Mansoor today accesses 6 months ago, a year ago, to fantasizing who he's going to be a year from now. It's still all happening in the same space. The key is to get past the idea that it was someone else. It's not someone else, it's you. Whether you're a female, whether you're a male, whether you've combined the two into the same body, it doesn't matter.
What do you mean someone else? As in a different me or external to me? What do you mean by that?
When you're in the 16th century and working as a laborer in someone else's shop as a young boy, who's that? He had privy to learn the intellectual world because he was in a shop that was producing intellectual materials. We would say printing, but it was too early for that, so it was transcribing. You made books. And because of that, you came in contact with the intellectual material of that time. You learned an art form that was made for kings and made for the wealthy. Who's that? No different than the Mansoor from a year ago. Because whatever emotions that boy dealt with, you all share the same emotional body. It's all the same experience. And so when we say, what did you do wrong? Which part of yourselves are we speaking to? Oh, but that's a different lifetime.
But if it's carried, it's the same. It's the same. It's like this. The only way I can describe it is a little orb that it's a little orb that I carry here. As far as this lifetime goes, the entire time. It's the only way I can describe it. It's this little orb.
Correct. And you pointed to the heart chakra. You also pointed to the solar plexus. So, sense of being, safety and security. Connecting it to the psychic map of which one is affected. And so now, there is this energy. We're not going to go into the point of actually delving into that to heal it at this point in time.
Yeah.
Not the point of the conversation. However, what we will say is that, is it affecting you now?
Oh, totally.
Did it happen then? You don't know that yet. But it's an experience that you can't relate to for this life. When you approach the energy, it doesn't pull a memory. It doesn't pull a reference.
It's just an emotion that's familiar.
It should be. You've been carrying it from one life to the next, and you will carry it to your future lives.
It's not just about me. I think this applies to everyone.
But we are dealing with you. So, can you heal something that will affect all of your lives? The answer is yes. But you must go into deeper states of consciousness to do so. And as we always joke, no, you don't need to change your DNA sequence. No, you don't need to align to certain other beings. It is all, it's not about anybody else but you. Because it is about your state of being. And all of your little selves have that running through it. And it paints the world. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. I better do this. I better get that done. I better organize this so I can get that done. Who's looking at me? I better move. I better get busy. What did you do wrong?
It's a shift in perception. If it's perceiving, I'll just use the notebook thing, the organizing thing, as an example. So beating myself up for a year or two, I gotta do this, check it off the list, it has to be organized this way, blah blah blah. It caused me more frustration throughout the day and before bed. And then I said, fuck it. And saying fuck it and taking on that doesn't fucking matter. There's no organization to this book. Just have fun. I even got fucking stickers. Just have fun with it. And I'm doing it not out of drudgery. I'm enjoying it. And all I did, I still used a pen. I still used the same book. I still checked off the things and everything. I just said, fuck it. This is for fun. I can do it any way I want. I just shifted my perception of it. Not perfect, but it's a huge, how I enjoy it as opposed to, oh, fuck, I gotta do this.
Now, watch how this works out on a layered being. So Mansour, manifesting here now, has figured out ways to not suffer under it and make it a more fun event. Is that important? Very important. But did it give him answers onto what he's done wrong?
Mm-mm.
And did it remove it? No. And this becomes a psychological issue that we want to touch a moment and expand on your current society, because this happens often, which is that the being physically present will change this, change that, change this, change that. Let's do some positive affirmations and review this, rethink this, redo that, read this, read that. And they go on. And every single time there is a new theory of how I can feel better about myself, they run, they buy it, they read it, they digest it, they feel good, and then it fades and the book gets forgotten and is put into a garage sale. But wait, there's a new guru, there's a new way, there's a new theory, there's a new yoga, there's a new teaching. Oh, wait, this is from the past. Wait, this is supposed to be channeled from the future. Oh. And you do all of this shifting, all of these changes to try to make yourself feel better. But does it remove the ball of energy? No, it does not. So what went wrong? Because you do not believe you can expand beyond what you know. You do not believe that there is an emotional body connected to all of these little selves, which will allow you to come to the heart of whatever that is. You also believe that when you get there, You have to analyze it and break it down into a physical location, situation, events, like a soap opera coming up on your inner TV screen, so you can understand the play before you. None of that matters. Not a bit of it. Because being has nothing to do with that. Being is regardless of all of that. Those are the tools of the ego. Change this, create this habit, visualize this, so I can have a better self in the future. Has that worked for your previous lives? Why are you still holding on to it? Why is it still present? They did much to do this until they died. How's that working for you? So here is the key. What you're looking for an answer is not in this state of consciousness. You must expand into the emotional body in that state of consciousness and explore that feeling. But that sounds complicated. Why? You're feeling it now. It's like when you both woke up and had the alarm going off, and then went around the house looking to see if anyone broke in. And then, let's just say, finding out that no one broke in, but the alarm's still going off, and the two of you stand there and say, "Well, that's loud." Well, I don't know about you, but I'm going to read this book on how to be at peace. And you say, what I'm going to do is go into this threefold yoga poses, which is going to calm me down. But what the two of you don't do is go to the alarm and turn off the sound. Well, this book didn't help, so now I'm going to go ahead and try this. Nope, still here, it's still irritated. Okay, and you go about your existence trying to overcome the sound that you hear, trying to make it okay, trying new techniques, but what you don't do is go to the source of the sound and turn it off. And we know that the way that we explained it, it makes you sound stupid. Does it not?
I've done stupider.
But understand, the ego's ways of blocking you, your awareness from other parts of yourself.
That's what I want to get into.
It would see you suffer.
That's what I want to get into.
When the truth of the matter is, it's in the same room the whole time. It's not that complicated, which is meditating on the ball, allowing yourself to experience it, to be pulled into it. Now, let's just say that you have the experience and go into the ball, and you're in the middle of it. You're feeling the essence of that ick. And you make a decision. No, I'm turning this off. This is not valid. Not a decision to make a change. Not a decision to better your life. You are making a decision on a state of being. And this, it does not belong.
Mm-hmm.
You are vanquished.
Mm-hmm.
And so that knot of energy, that collection that's in the emotional body, shift of perceptions, and it goes. At this point in time, under that theory because you haven't experienced it yet. But putting it in physical terms, finally turn the alarm off. Will you hear it anymore? Will you be bothered by it anymore?
Because it's not there.
Will you reclaim all the energy you've been spending trying to dance around the fact the alarm is going off?
Yes. Yes.
Now, here's what we want you to understand the larger aspects of working with your conscious. That ball of energy we have theorized for you is connected through so many past lives, and if nothing is done, will continue right on into your future lives. And we do it like a line, but it is not. It is all happening right now because you're all in the same energy body for the mental plane, the emotional plane, and other states of existence. All of it is your consciousness. All of it happening now. But if that gets shifted by your perception of no more, we're done with this, would that affect the other lives?
Yeah, it's like I guess put it in a physical form. My gym time, I finally work out a kink in my hips and I can go ass to grass all the way down. It's not just for the gym. Now when I take the dogs for a walk, I don't have that same hip pain. Now if I do yoga, it's a lot better. Now when I work, I have a clearer head because I don't have that hip pain. So taking care of it in one aspect takes care of it in all aspects of my life. Just like taking care of that ball, and not even taking care of it is realizing, oh, this I don't need this.
And the only reason why it is not that simple in simplicity, and then we must take a break.
Yes, I need to.
The reason why it is not in that simplicity is because you believe you are not connected, and you believe this physical life is all that you are, despite all the evidence showing you otherwise. It becomes an impossible probability, but you will bank on the ego. Every day, every week, every month, every year, for the rest of your lives, until you decide differently. Now, peace to you.